Well, g'day there, traders and friends. Thanks a lot for joining me on this Wednesday afternoon market recap. What I'll begin with the Dow Jones Industrial Average, recap the S&P and the NASDAQ, followed by our top 13 individual trade list as at the close of trading on Wednesday. So what we'll begin with the Dow Jones. And as you can see, the daily candlestick is somewhat of a spinning top. We were up 15 points during today's session, but relatively across the board, all three of the markets were pretty much flat. The S&P was pretty neutral. We were down 1 point on the daily. And when we confirmed that with the NASDAQ, you can see we were down 1 point also. This is interesting. This is a little bit of a shooting star candlestick. Maybe we are expecting a little bit of a sideways market move. At the end of the day, these markets are continuing to grind higher. And I think that's what's going to occur, further into March 2015. There's no reason whatsoever to be looking at this market bearishly. I've had a lot of students email in and say, look, I'm scared to get or at least place a stake in the market. It seems as if the market is top heavy. And to some degree, I do agree with you. However, until that trend essentially changes and we get a better technical picture, there's no reason whatsoever to really be looking at this negatively, or at least expecting any form of a significant traceback. As I've said many times before, this market appears to be breaking out. We're breaking all of the swing highs, and there's a really good target, at least on the NASDAQ. If I change and go back out to a monthly, you can see right here, we're looking at the targets going back to 2000. More specifically, we're looking at an ultimate target on the NASDAQ, about 5,105. It's as if there's a carrot being dangled in front of this NASDAQ market, and I do believe the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P are going to follow suit. The manner in which we do that is debatable. It's questionable. That is what is a little bit contentious at the moment. But what I do expect is for these markets to continue grinding higher. What I mean by that is, yes, we do have a doji candlestick on the daily, but it is not significant enough to be looking at the market net short. We could see continued dojis. It doesn't matter. We can have, a shooting star on Thursday and continue higher on Friday's trading session. Until that technical picture changes, we need to have and remain the same constant mindset that this market is still optimistic, it's still bullish, and if anything, it's just grinding and continuing out in the bullish trend. Taking a look at a few of our individual positions, Apple finally got that pullback we were expecting. It had a pretty decent pop on Monday. You can see on Tuesday we had somewhat of a spinning top, and today on Wednesday we finally saw a little bit of profit taking on the stock of Apple. It was down about $3.40 on the daily candle. Decent sell volume coming in. Now again, a lot of people want to jump to conclusions and say, look, is Apple a good shorting candidate? No, it's not. The reason why is because it is trending. We're just simply pulling back into these exponential moving averages. Consider the 10, the 20, and the 50 as potential buying opportunities. At the moment, as at Wednesday afternoon, it's too premature to be looking at this at the moment as a new buying opportunity. This may take a couple of days to shake out and really set up some form of a bear flag until we can, reposition ourselves to capture the continued upswing in Apple. It is sort of a trade which is still brewing. Amazon today had a very nice daily candle. It's something which we've been paying attention to and expecting for a period of about 2 weeks now. It was up about $6 or $7 on the daily candle. You can see a very nice engulfing candlestick breaking above the old resistance swing highs. Personally, I'm triggered into Amazon on the long side above 386.80. It is slightly down during the end of afternoon trading, but that's okay. It's a pretty decent looking trade. Just adjust your stops accordingly. Place it either in line with the 10 exponential moving average, or you can even leave it down here below these swing lows, about $371 on the daily candlestick. Baba today is somewhat exciting because we've pulled back down into this very, very important support level down here, about $85 a share. It looks as if, it could potentially be breaking down. If these markets do in fact roll over, look for Baba on the short side. At the moment, I'm still sitting tight on the upside. I'm still waiting for clearer indication and better confirmation that this trade really has the stamina at least to move higher, at least start swing trading up until higher levels. I'm sitting tight on that Baba trade. Baidu again today has got another bearish engulfing candlestick pattern, but there's no real net movement. You can see this overall net movement over the past 2 weeks has been essentially flat. So there's no real great trade set up at the moment on Baidu. We're still paying attention to that particular stock. Caterpillar is still fizzling in and out of support and resistance. If anything, it's moving sideways. So I want you to pay attention to the Bollinger Bands. This could potentially give us what we call a Bollinger Band squeeze. It's not there yet, but it's definitely forming if it continues to move sideways. Now, FES has hit our target twice at 127.65. You can see right here we hit it both on Tuesday and again today on Wednesday's trading session. That's another profitable trade. The next trade on FAS, as you're well aware, is at that potential location. I'm not going to say it now, but you definitely know how to trade that FAS trade on the event that it continues to break out. On the Facebook trade, You can see we had an initial order here at $78.83. We got triggered into this on Thursday last week. It broke above. It had a nice little pull down. I was speaking to a few people over the phone saying that this looks like a typical bull flag, and that's exactly what appears to be happening. Some nice volume expansion on Facebook. It's broken above that doji, which was on Tuesday's trading session. It's looking pretty healthy at the moment. It is up. We're trading at 79.56, so it's up a fair bit from our original entry. I'm still looking at those targets, about $81 a share on Facebook. Just sit tight on that. Keep your stop about 77.79 and just let the trade progress, and just let it do what it's going to do. Let's have a look at Google quickly. Google has pulled back. It's really followed that type of, hypotheses that we were really, anticipating on Google. It's broken out. It's come back down. It's retested this old pivot. It did retrace a little bit further than what we estimated, but you can see yesterday and today's candlesticks are really showing that the sentiment on Google is really beginning to shift. We've made a higher low and another higher low. We've retested this pivot and it looks quite healthy at the moment. 548 was the trigger over the weekend. Pretty nice looking trade. Look at the volume coming back into Google today. A nice looking chart, a nice looking trade, holding this up until our targets. Having a look at GoPro. GoPro is just fizzling out again since the IPO lockout. It's been somewhat of a frustrating stock to trade in recent memory. We have had some really blockbuster moves on this particular stock when we broke down below these old, swing levels. And at the moment, the best indication of what we get is that we're going to pull away from this lower Bollinger Band, probably, dance around 48.50 for a couple of days, but very close to bringing down both the bullish side and the bearish side on this particular trade. I'll keep you updated over the weekend in that GoPro trade. Halliburton today is still just trying to rally into this resistance window. You can see it's held for almost a month now. You can see how strong that these open windows are when we try to fill them. Sometimes they fill them immediately. Other times they act as very strong resistance levels. And for instance, on this Halliburton trade, it is continuing to hold as a resistance level. Pay attention to the Bollinger Bands also. We may be setting up a little bit of a Bollinger Band trend trade. It's still in its infancy. Not a whole lot to get carried away on that Halliburton trade. Netflix is getting very, very close to our target up here at 484.80. There was the possibility that you got stopped out of this trade for a nice little profit here at 471.50 from our original entry at 464.90. So whether you're in it or not, it's been an exceptional trade. I do think we are going to hit this maybe even Thursday or Friday. Time will tell if you're in it. Pretty nice move. We're trading up here at 478. So we've made $14 already on this particular trade. A nice looking sort of trend, continuing in Netflix. That's really the story as this week continues. Tesla, again, finding resistance at that declining trend line. There wasn't a great swing trade moving into the week. The downside is limited, in my opinion, on this particular stock. We have a support level here around that 200 level. Watch for Tesla to sort of get stuck here. Let me just expand this a little bit further. Watch for Tesla to get stuck here and watch it for the breakout. You see how most recently we've created another swing high? This is starting to allow us to bring down our long trigger a little bit closer to the current price action. So there is a decent trade setting up on Tesla. This could be somewhat of an Amazon breakout. You can see that we are in some form of a descending triangle. Have a look at that picture there. And then I'll show you, of course, the equivalent in Amazon. You can see this most recent sort of descending triangle. And you can see how it resolves itself. It's generally a 60-40 mix. It generally likes to resolve itself to the downside, but it doesn't mean that we won't trade Tesla on the upside if it does decide to break out. There's definitely a nice trend forming, and it will be right very, very soon. And to conclude with, we have Twitter. Twitter today was quite mixed. Another spinning top. This is more or less the third continuous spinning top, right around our entry at 48.73. Generally, when we enter into a trade, we want to see the immediate results of the trade. This has been somewhat of a stock which we've held for at least 5 days at the moment. And if anything, it's just continuing to wait for those exponential moving averages to catch up, support price before ultimately, I do believe we break out above $50.27 on that particular stock. So that's a nice little market recap. Again, at the end of the day, this market continues to grind higher. There's no warning signals other than somewhat of a shooting star on the NASDAQ. But who wants to trade bearish in the face of this very strong trend occurring in the NASDAQ, especially when we have that carrot dangling at 5,105 at the all-time high at that moment in time? All three markets will be trading at their all-time highs and all will be in a macro agreement. So thank you very much for watching this Wednesday afternoon market recap. Have a pleasant evening. I'll see you all later in the week for another market and stock update. Goodbye.